There are a lot of people with ideas, and they're just riding the hope train. They hope they write the book, they hope they get published, they hope they make some money, and in their mind, the math makes sense. But in reality, since they're very slow to implement, they're not making any money, and they're not having the success that in their mind they should or will hopefully maybe someday have. Same thing goes in business. I see it all the time. Business owners that are doing okay, there's comfort in complacency. When people are comfortable, that means that they're not growing. So they don't call it growing pains for no reason, right? So
Wow.
That's some people just don't understand that you typically have to stretch outside of your comfort zone in order to be successful. That's why not everyone is successful in the way that every person would like to be.
Welcome to the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. There has never been a better time for writers. More information, options, and opportunities are available to you, but navigating these requires insight. Join Mark Leslie Lefebvre as he draws upon more than a quarter century of experience as a writer, a bookseller, and a trusted book industry consultant to explore and reflect on the writing and publishing landscape to help you make informed choices on your writer journey.
Hello, Reflectives, and welcome to a special between-isode episode of the Stark Reflections podcast. This is your host, Mark Leslie Lefebvre, and this is episode 192. Yeah, another one I'm just squeezing between the regular Friday releases. This is a live interview I did with James Kademan last week. So I'm recording this on May 18th when this podcast episode is going out. But James and I did a live chat about the importance of business and bold business strategies, specifically in relation to authors. Now, James Kademan is the owner of Calls on Duty, a shared receptionist service, as well as Drawing Customers Business Coaching. James and I had about a half-hour chat during this live interview. There's some live questions as well from the folks who were watching it. So this podcast episode will, of course, feature the audio, which I'm going to get to. I'm going to skip the personal update and comments from recent episodes, just kind of do the ad read and get right into it. But then also on the show notes over at starkreflections.ca, you'll find the video if you prefer to watch that video, so you can see James and I gesturing while we're talking. There is, every once in a while, there's a little bit of an echo coming here and there in the audio. My apologies. I tried to clean it up as much as possible. Must have been a side effect of the live chat and the way we had placed the mics, etc. But great content, and of course I'm going to reflect on that at the end of this episode. So let's just go right into an ad read, and immediately after the ad read, we'll jump right into the interview with James. This podcast is sponsored by Findaway Voices. Findaway Voices offers you, the author, the ability to control your audiobook destiny. If you're looking for a professional narrator, you can check out Findaway Voices. They have thousands of professional voice talents connected into their network, and when you put in your request, you fill out a form that basically says what you're looking for, and they'll have a project manager who'll go in and find you between 5 and 10 of the voices that they think are best for your project. They find a variety of voices that they think are appropriate, as well as a range. So you can have some at the lower price range of the per finished hour and some at the higher range. They want to give you full control over that. If you already have your audio, you can use Findaway Voices to upload and distribute to more than 40 retail and library platforms. And this is in a way where you, yes, you, the author, are in control of the price. Well, everywhere except, Audible. But what a fantastic opportunity for authors. And if you want to see how you can leverage Findaway Voices as an author, check them out over at starkreflections.ca/Findaway. Hello, and welcome to a special live broadcast, a live chat with Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing. My name is Mark Leslie Lefebvre, and I have with me in the virtual studio James Kademan. James, welcome.
Hey, how's it going today, Mark?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad you were able to do this chat with me because I've recently read the Bold Business Book.
Yeah.
Awesome. I listened to the audio in your awesome voice, but I do have a print copy because it's one of those books that you have to highlight. Can you give me a bit of a background on your background as an entrepreneur? And and eventually I want to lead to where the Bold Business Book came up from your experiences there.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose just like any kid, I started businesses that didn't make money, selling whatever. In 2006, I started my first real business. It was a printer, copier repair place. I ended up selling that. I started another business called Answering Service, which is still going. We're on year 10 now, so that's cool.
Whoa, 10 years.
Yeah. 10 years and lots of mistakes later. And some successes as well, so that's cool.
Of course.
Then I have business called Draw and Customers Business Coaching, and then a couple other side hustles that every entrepreneur has. Just other stuff going on. There's always the ideas in your head, about 5 million a day and maybe 2 a year you try out.
That is suspiciously like writers, right? A lot of writers have, a dozen ideas and then they only have time to work on 1 or 2. So the same thing as a business person, right? Ideas.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing about ideas, right? They're a dime a dozen. Everybody's got ideas. It's the implementation that's the challenging part. So, I mean, probably from talking to authors as well as would-be authors that everyone's like, oh, I always meant to write a book. And that's end of what they've done with it.
I always meant to start a business.
Yeah, right.
So how do you decide when you have an idea for a business? How do you take it from the implementation? Like, is there a pattern? Is there a formula you follow to say, all right, this idea I can do something with?
Yeah, I try to do the math to see if you can make money at it. And just like most entrepreneurs, or I suppose authors, I'm overly optimistic. So I'll give you a really brief example. I have, oh my gosh, is it easyorderflowers.com or justorderflowers.com? Both go to the same spot. And it ends up at actually whateverblooms.com, which is flower ordering for people that don't care what flowers are actually sent because we don't know flowers. I don't know if anybody picked out flowers for Mother's Day yesterday and you just went to the store or you called up a flower shop and you're like, just send mom something nice. I don't care what.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, the idea is that you tell us where it's going. You tell us which one on the card. You tell us how much you want to spend. And then essentially the flower shop takes care of the rest.
Because they know what they're doing, right? They know
that's the idea. Yeah.
Wow. So that's like a time saver. So you throw your credit card in and say, here's the address. Right? Here's it could be Mother's Day. It could be whatever. Yeah. Just send something nice.
Yeah. I want to spend whatever, $60, $80, whatever on flowers. Just send them, make it happen.
Wow.
The challenge that I didn't realize until later was that it takes a little while to program. So there's an expense there. Okay. And then it takes a lot of money to advertise. Flower shops, there's a lot of competition there with the big national chains. And then the flower shops, the local guys.
Right.
I'm talking $5 to $10 a click to advertise online when our margins are right around $5 an order. So not what I would call an immediately lucrative business.
Right.
And the margins are so small that the time that you stick in it, just you don't get back. So that was one that I went down the road pretty far, and then I was like, let's pause that one. So it's actually out there. You can order flowers from it, but it's not anything that we're actively marketing.
Oh yeah, you're not marketing it because the marketing would cause your margin to either be negative or shrink or something. Right. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we're trying to set up so you can have automatic, like it sends your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever you want, flowers intermittently, but on somewhat of a scheduled basis.
Oh,
so it'd be once a month, but it wouldn't be the 15th of every month, right? So it made it look like you're the superstar. Like, oh, you got me flowers for no reason.
Just because. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, right.
What's the URL again for that? Sorry.
It's whateverblooms.com.
Whateverblooms.com. And that's active. So I could go in. Okay, this is kind of cool. I like that.
Just send whatever blooms.
That is really.
It's one of those ideas implemented, and then we're like, there's a lot of time and not a whole lot of money. So at least the money was in parentheses. So not the best kind.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like
Yeah.
real money as opposed to parentheses money.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is money you owe for being in business. Yay. Wrong direction.
So you have done talks for authors in front
Hmm.
of audiences. I know in Calgary at When Words Collide
Hmm.
is it one of the places. What was one of the things coming from the business entrepreneurial side of things and then
Hmm.
going into the author sphere? I know
Hmm.
you've authored yourself.
Yep.
What's that? Is there a divide, or is there a different mindset that you have to apply as an author to think of it as a business? Like, were there things that were, wow, authors really need to understand this?
Yeah. One, I guess, similar to what we were talking about before, the whole implementation thing. There are a lot of people with ideas and they're just riding the hope train. They
Okay,
hope they write the book, they hope they get published, they hope they make some money. And in their mind, the math makes sense. But in reality, since they're very slow to implement, they're not making any money and they're not having the success that in their mind they should or will hopefully maybe someday have.
okay,
Same thing goes in business. I see it all the time. Business owners that are doing okay, there's essentially there's comfort in complacency. When people are comfortable, that means that they're not growing. So they don't call it growing pains for no reason, right? So
wow,
that's some people just don't understand that you typically have to stretch outside of your comfort zone in order to be successful. That's why not everyone is successful in the way that every person would like to be.
wow, wow. So you, as an entrepreneur, somebody who has started multiple businesses, obviously
Mhm.
started, had successful businesses, started some, had failures.
Right?
Is there a parallel into that successful business and not less successful business? Is there a parallel for authors in books?
Yeah, I would say you don't know until you try. So
Okay,
what I was telling people at the When Words Collide thing is just get your book out there. That's one thing, right? Just get it out there. See what the market is, see what it does, see what kind of results you have. And
okay,
getting any results will help guide you to future results.
okay.
Otherwise, it's just speculation.
So is there sometimes too much invested in this one single thing rather than being
Oh,
open? Yeah. Okay.
yeah, you could certainly argue. I guess it depends. The rule that I have is that education is expensive, whether
Right.
that's going to school or whether that's just learning school of hard knocks. There's no such thing as free education, or rarely free education. Maybe cheap education, right? A little $17 book or something like that. But
Okay.
somebody paid for that education. They probably paid a lot of money. So in the case of an author, maybe they had to stick their neck out and go through the time, right? Because that's not free. The time of writing a book, getting the book edited, publishing it by whatever means they had. There's going to be a time and a financial investment. And there's going to be your mother-in-law asking you, how's that book doing? When maybe it's not doing so hot yet, or it's not ready yet.
Right.
So you got to stick your neck out a little bit,
Okay. I like
or a lot.
that. And you did that. So I want to talk about well, you've written more than one book, but I want to talk specifically about the Bold
Yeah.
Business book, right?
Yep.
So you took it upon yourself to do this yourself. So you did not go for an agent and a publisher.
Correct.
You, as the entrepreneur, said, I got this. How did
Yeah.
that? How did you come to that conclusion?
Well, so my sister's an author, right? Sarah Cades. So I asked her, like, what does it take to get published? And she was telling me, well, first you got to find an agent. Once you find an agent, that agent helps you find a publisher. Once you find a publisher, that publisher sticks their hands in places that you don't want them necessarily to stick their hands, in the hopes that they'll sell lots of books. And I'm like, okay, what's the big deal? How long does that take? And she made it sound like it was months or years. And I was thinking, months or years? I don't have months or years. I want this done now. So I just decided to go down the self-publishing route. One, because that has strong now. I mean, a few years ago, it wasn't nearly as strong. And it's evolved even since I published the Bold Business book. I think, and this is coming from a guy that only has a few books out, I feel like that is the wave of the future.
Okay.
Much like self-driving cars or something like that. Whether the people driving cars agree with that or not. Whatever, the big publishers, right? They're probably not huge fans of that. But I feel like I think the printing, like the physical process of printing, that has gotten to the point where it's very affordable to do low volume runs. So it's essentially print on demand, which means that the publishing house that used to have to print 20,000 copies to make it lucrative to sell individuals, it's an outdated model, from my opinion, strictly my opinion. So
of course, well, yeah, no, but
you
looked at this not as the average author looks at it. You looked at this with your business mind on, and made that decision that
Totally.
you wanted it out fast. You wanted to be in control. Now you released the paperback, the ebook, and the audiobook. So you had it
and hardcover. Yep.
And it's in hardcover too. So there's 4 formats.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you decide to go the full Monty on all of the different formats with that?
Well, I was gonna do all of them except for the audiobook.
Okay.
But then I learned that not everybody reads.
Okay.
That a lot of people that I say, hey, I give them a copy of the book. Hey, would you mind just reading this book? Just let me know what you think of it. Leave a review. That would be cool. And after you follow up with them after a few weeks, few months, and they're like, oh, yeah, I don't really read. I listen. So that evolved into, well, I guess we're doing an audiobook. So, and then I went down the audiobook road and they're like, find someone to read it, whatever, and think around like that. And it seemed to be, it was expensive. And I was like, I don't want to shop for a voice. And the editors that I had in the book told me that the book itself had a pretty cool voice. So I'm like, well, how about I just be the voice? I learned after the fact that Amazon pays you based on the length of your book. And I talk about 10 to 20% faster than most voiceover artists. So because I read the book, Amazon prices it based on length. So you get the audiobook a little bit cheaper than most other audiobooks of that word count. So,
and I normally listen at speed and a half, but I didn't have to do that with your book.
You just like, we got stuff to do, ground to cover, time's a wasting.
But I did like that because you could tell that you've done talks in front of people before, because it was very much like, I remember it was the wintertime. I was shoveling the snow while listening to you as well. See, I always have this memory of where I was when I was listening to your voice. And I ended up, I was enjoying it so much, I went to do some of the neighbors' driveways because I thought, well, yeah, I want to keep listening.
That's awesome.
So you said something when you talked about giving people copies of your books and then following up. Now, that's something that you do have a chapter or section of the book on the importance of follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about that value. Like, how important is it as an entrepreneur or an authorpreneur? How important is that follow-up?
Oh my gosh. It's almost as important as writing the book. The interesting thing was when I published my book and I gave somebody a copy, I thought that I was giving them this great gift and that they were going to take that great gift, read it, put it on the mantle, do awesome things, and then leave a review. I did not keep in mind that people have a life outside of my book. They got spouses, kids, family, their own business, their job, whatever that is. They got to mow their yard, shovel their snow, do all this other stuff. That leaving a review for my book was not exactly on the top of their priority list, even though, how long does the review take, right? 10, 20 seconds, maybe.
Yeah.
A minute if you put some thought into it. Like, from my point of view, I wasn't asking a ton, but from most people's point of view, I was asking a ton because I was essentially asking for their time in exchange for a book. So, and that's tough. It doesn't matter what's in the content of the book. It could be a super awesome book, incredible book, best book ever written. And still they're like, a minute of my time, I'm not going to get that back. So even
read it,
yeah, I try not to be annoying to people, but eventually if you send 20 emails over the course of 2 years, you're like, okay, it's probably not going to happen. So for them to read those 20 emails, if they would have read 2 out of those 20, that was more time than it would have taken for them to write a review.
Right.
So it's interesting, man. You got to just claw your way to get reviews. It's bizarre. I never anticipated that.
Wow. So that was a bit of a surprise for you then.
Oh, totally. Here's a book. Leave a review. Whatever star, right? Good, bad, indifferent, whatever. Hopefully you like it. But I just wanted reviews because I guess I wanted to know. and maybe this is a selfish thing, right? I want it to know that I put out a good product, a great product, really. And reviews are one way to know that. So I'm very proud of the reviews that I have, but oh my gosh, I probably reached out to, oh man, I bet it's 700 people.
Oh, so really?
Oh yeah.
Wow. So,
Yeah, I
okay,
mean,
so this is something authors are not comfortable with. They're not comfortable with asking for anything or reaching out to people. But you reached out to 700 people, and you got probably a relatively small percentage of them actually took the time to leave a
yeah,
review.
out of those 700, there's probably 20, 30 that left reviews. The other 20, 30 that are on there are just from people that I don't know. Luckily, most of them are positive, so that's cool.
Right.
But yeah, the percentage of people leaving a review, and that goes with any business, right? It's just people aren't really interested in leaving positive reviews just based on an ask.
Right.
They're very quick to leave a negative review if you.
Oh, oh yes.
I'm gonna tell the world. But
So
you made them
only
happy.
asked
They're
10
just
people,
like, meh, whatever.
but if you'd only asked 10 people, you probably wouldn't have gotten any reviews.
No. And of those 700, I probably asked each of them, I bet at least 4 times. And the ones that I got any play on or that I had a more personal relationship with, I probably approached annoyance.
Okay.
Like you got to ride that wave, right?
Yeah. So
Like,
where is that? Where is that balance? How do you is it different for every relationship you have, I guess?
Yeah, I guess there's some relationships that you gotta kind of weigh the balance. What is this relationship worth to me? And if I have a business relationship with someone and I know that I'm a good contact for them, they're a good contact for me, but essentially it's a business relationship. A review for the book it's a business thing that takes next to no time. There's no financial outlay. So I was cool with being annoying there. Because my risk for the relationship is what? This guy asked for a review way too many times. Really? Like that's your complaint? So I was willing to be annoying there. With buddies and stuff like that, I'm like, hey, would you mind? And some were cool and some just ignored it. So yeah, eventually after you try so many times, eventually there's just some where it's not worth reaching out anymore.
Right.
You've tried a dozen times, 20 times, 5 times, whatever it is for the given person. And if you didn't get a response, but you saw that they opened the email, move on, man.
Okay. All right. Now we have a question from the live audience.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So L.A. Selby says, do you seek reviews from readers who typically don't read your genre? Maybe don't read business books in your case? If so, does it impact how Amazon treats your marketing? Right. Oh, so a reader who normally wouldn't review a business book, I guess she's asking, or whatever the genre is.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So the first part of that question, do I seek reviews from readers? Anybody that's literate, I'm seeking a review from.
Okay.
Presumably somebody that read the book, but if they read the book, for example, and don't have a business, they're not interested in starting their own business. I had a lot of people that read the book that just wanted to know about the one because they knew me, and just another because they heard from other people that it touches on stuff that is applicable outside of business.
Right.
And it was actually useful. That was not the plan with the book, but it turned out that way. Okay. The second question, does it affect my Amazon ads? I'm going to say no anymore because I stopped advertising on Amazon.
Okay.
And 2, just because, I mean, we can talk about that later if you want. The second answer to that is, I don't know. I never went down the road of exploring that.
Okay.
Because the return on investment for that time just wasn't there.
So yeah, it was the return on that investment. So I think what she was getting at with the question was, Amazon has algorithms based on customers and reading like things. Therefore, if somebody who normally never reads a business book suddenly reads this, but they read, I don't know, they read dinosaur erotica or something like that. And so normally you'd be showing this, everyone who reads dinosaur erotica suddenly seeing a business book, which is the wrong customers probably, potentially, although they may do business. So I think I would argue that early on, especially when you don't have any reviews, it's better to have a review than to not have any reviews, even if it's from the wrong customer, not the wrong customer base, but if it's not from people who only read business books or entrepreneur. Maybe that was the questions. So, okay.
Yeah, I guess I would say that there are people like you, Mark, that know that road way better than I even, like, I scratched the very tip of the iceberg on that. There's so much knowledge that I just never took the time to explore.
Okay. So
much.
I
didn't
want to
even
get
know
back.
that was the thing. I just thought people that read books, right? I just like, I don't know what's
Well, no,
that.
but you read certain things, right? Like I read all
Totally.
over the map, right? So I'm all over the place. So Amazon can't get a beat on me. But
Right, yeah. I guess I assume that a lot of people were like that, or most people were like that, and that's wrong. Like my wife would probably never read a book like what I wrote. She's more romance or whatever.
right.
And yeah, I'm just didn't even think about that.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, that's a failure on my part, right? I should have
Well,
assumed
which is
that.
why you and I are working together on a workshop for later this
Yeah.
summer that we're going to talk about at the end of this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we combine the knowledge that you have and the knowledge that
Business
I
and
have,
authors,
we
right?
can have peanut butter
chocolate.
and chocolate, right? Okay. So you said something. So there's a quote I pulled out from the book that I quite loved, where you said, "Challenges are only periods of growth veiled as obstacles." Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah. I get the impression that a lot of people feel like eventually it's going to be easy, right? Taken from an author, somebody starting a business, something like that. They think eventually, once I get all my ducks in a row, growth is just going to happen naturally and easily. And that doesn't happen. Now I like to use the analogy of a tree, right? You look at a tree, trees just grow until they die. They just grow. But think of how much dirt they have to push out of the way. Roots that have to go through all kinds of rock and worms and all this kind of stuff. Like growth is to a point pain if you don't learn to enjoy it. So to assume that something's going to be easy is a fallacy. It's not true. So that's when I say that the complacency is comfort. You're not growing. You gotta stretch beyond, which brings risk and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I also want to go back to because you kind of alluded to this earlier, and it's the lesson on borrowed time, and that the best success comes from, and I know you'll probably finish this sentence.
I have to think.
Because I'm pulling for it. Well, you said the best success comes from getting the job done. Yeah, because you're going to know every single word from every single line in your book off the top of your head.
4 years ago.
Yeah, so like borrowed time, and that you talked about time having value, and often people don't value that. But then getting the job done is critical.
Oh, it's necessary. Yeah, a job 90% done. I mean, think of a book that's 90% done and never published. Did you make any money on that?
Well, it's
Did
hard
you
to
sell one? Did you share your knowledge with the world if you never published your book?
Okay.
I talked with one woman. She had what was she doing? She was doing a history of her grandmother who had survived World War II in Germany, fled to US, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Great story. Phenomenal. I was like, oh, and this is when I was going through the process of self-publishing the Bold Business book.
Okay.
So I reached out, or she was a student in my class as an editor for other commercial stuff, editing things for other companies and stuff like that. And she happened to be editing her mom's book, or her grandma's book, I'm sorry. And I'm like, where are you going to publish this? This is awesome. She's like, oh, we're not going to publish it. We're going to print 5 copies. Just give it to the family.
Oh my God.
You went through all of that. Even if you don't make a dime off of it, what does it cost to self-publish? A couple $100, maybe. The book is already done. Cover, editing, written. You would, I mean, it's a few clicks of the mouse to self-publish that thing.
Well, once you've already paid for the editing and the cover, the cost of self-publishing is free.
Totally. So I just could not wrap my head around, why would you not want to share this story? This is a cool story.
Yeah.
Why would you not want to share that?
It could probably resonate with other people and say, "Oh my God, I that happened in my family too," or maybe I'm not alone. Right? You never know how it could help someone.
Yeah. Wow. And it was just one of those like the finish line is half a step there, and you're like,
right?
I'm gonna go get some ice cream. Okay. Why?
Is there something in you have like a 6-month plan for business? is there something that authors can apply when they do the same sort of forward looking, when they look at their product, when they look at their author brand, whatever it is there a similar parallel in the 6-month plan for an author to consider?
Yeah. My rule is to systematize everything.
Okay.
So, the rule is that you only have to do what is important for your business at this moment in time. So I feel like authors, a lot of business owners probably get overwhelmed because they think, oh my gosh, there's 5 million steps that I have to do. And it's something actually that we're going to talk about at our presentation at When Words Collide, is the step, systematize it, boom, boom, boom.
Okay.
To get it all set so that there's no confusion. There's no deer in headlights look. There's no what do I do next? You just figure out, just lay out your plan, 6 months, knock it out.
Okay. And that's a critical step then, is actually taking the dream, the vision, the goals, the plans, and really making a concrete effort.
Yeah, I like to think of it like a recipe. Like maybe your grandma or great grandma can make a chocolate cake that she's been making for decades without really thinking about it.
Right.
But if you or I want to make that cake, we have to have that recipe. Otherwise, we may end up with something coming out of the oven, but it won't be chocolate cake. Or it won't be good. So you want to figure out your recipe and then make your recipe.
Okay.
Maybe you need to tweak here and there as you're going along, but for the most part, you make your plan, you stick to it.
Okay. Oh, that's kind of cool. So I watched a video of you online talking about something I struggle with. Okay. And I'm pretty sure most people struggle with.
All right.
And it was inbox zero.
Oh,
you broke it down, but again, you broke it down into some simple chunks. Could you quickly just outline, because I know that will benefit people who are watching and listening?
Sure. Yeah, so the reason I should say that inbox zero is a big thing for me is because just like when you walk into a dirty room, your mind is it's overwhelmed even before you started the task.
Okay.
So every day we have to look at our inbox and we got to knock out those emails, right? But if you have an inbox of 36,000 emails, your mind says, no freaking way. Never going to happen. You're not going to finish them all.
Right.
So let's just knock out 5. Right? Which is like, okay. So also, a lot of good stuff gets lost. You end up on all these email lists. You get stuff. You get people trying to schedule stuff over email with you that takes 27 emails when it would have taken a 30-second phone call. It fills up your inbox, and therefore your inbox is multiple pages. So there may be emails in there, somewhere in there, that are actually important, money-making, huge opportunities that are just lost because there's so many. Right. So what I like to do is get people into inbox zero, and the process is to essentially use folders. So create a folder, for example, that I like to use called 6-month temporary.
Okay.
Just take everything in your inbox, put it in the 6-month temporary folder. And then you can look at your inbox, and it's actually inbox zero. Right then, it's liberating. Liberating, right there. Then as emails come in, then you can say, well, this is junk. I respond to this one. This one goes in the 6-month temporary folder. 6-month temporary folder I use. It's a rolling 6 months. So if an email comes in, I respond to it. And let's just say I may need to search for this email eventually over the course of time. But after 6 months, that email is probably not that important. In your business or in your life, maybe that's a 1 year folder, 2-year folder, something like that. 6 month works for me in my business. So I'll just give you an outline of what to do, but you can tweak as you see fit.
Okay.
Then after you have that, your thousands of emails in the 6-month temporary, then just take some time and pick a date. Let's just say I'm only going to look at anything 1 month and newer. Because if you haven't responded and it's over a month, that train has left the station. It's gone. Forget about it. Right. The next time you delete the emails that are older than 6 months, out the door. Somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, did you ever see that email, from April or whatever? And you're like, oh, yeah, I can search. No one's going to say like, hey, did you get that email from 2015? No, didn't happen. No, you never responded. No, resend it. We're all good.
Okay.
But you essentially want to keep your inbox as clean as like you keep your kitchen or something of that nature so you can get more work done without thinking, oh my gosh, this is a mess.
Right. You're not having to clean the dishes before you cook something.
Right.
Okay. All right. So here's a thing I ran into when I was trying to implement that.
Yeah.
I use Gmail, And
Okay.
so what I ran into is there are emails that go back to 2015 that I may want to find.
Mm-hmm.
But what I learned is I can archive them instead of
Totally.
deleting them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still there if I ever needed to find them.
Yeah.
In 6 months when I got to go, well, that email from the publisher that had the contract clause or whatever, and I need to go look it up. Because again, it's easily retrievable on the cloud.
Totally.
But so some people may panic when they hear delete, because they're like hoarders like me,
Right.
digital hoarders, and they're like, no, I might need that picture I took of my sock from 2001 or whatever. So that's something that maybe if people are a little bit leery about that, panicking over that deletion, would that be something that could tide them over and go, you can always still
totally
get it?
Yeah, I have a folder. Well, I have a few folders, right? You think of it just like filing. That's the analogy that they use now, right? Think of your inbox right now as pretty much just a pile in the middle of a room.
Okay.
You got 20,000 sheets of paper there. I got to find something. Ooh, how many of those sheets of paper are really important? So you could, for example, take your 50,000 emails or whatever's in your inbox, put them in a folder that's just dated inbox 0 quest or something like that. So if ever you have to go back to them, they're there, but they're archived. You don't want them to be seen every single day when you don't have to do anything with them every single day.
Okay.
You want to clear. So just because it's not in your inbox, it can still be archived or filed in a folder that you can access later. It's just not interrupting you or overwhelming you in your day.
So it's thinking about it as an inbox on your desk, a physical inbox that is empty. Or when you get up, it's like it's only the 5 emails that came in, or 20 that came in, or 100 that came in while you were sleeping. So,
yeah, I get in the neighborhood of, let's say, 100 emails a day.
Okay.
75 of them are junk.
Okay.
So they're very, very easy to get rid of. Some of them are not necessarily junk like spam or anything like that. They're just stuff that's notifying me of something. I don't have to take any action on them shy of just moving them into the 6-month temporary folder.
Okay.
The other 25, you just respond or take the action steps that they need.
Right.
And my rule is you don't touch an email more than twice.
Okay.
So you just move along. So you don't have to be like, stare at that. Oh, I got to take care of that email. Oh, I got to take care of that email. Those stack up very quickly.
Okay. And I think that is something that can probably be applied in different aspects of people's lives, right? Not totally. Just the inbox, everywhere. But in general, when they go to make a business decision, when they decide, am I going to work on this book or that book? Am I going to whatever, right? They can probably attribute similar virtual folders in their minds.
Yeah, I would. It also helps to make decisions because you remove the information that you don't need. What is the applicable information? Right. So it's just like those story problems you had way back when, where they gave you a bunch of information that wasn't relevant to the story problem.
Right.
What you were trying, like 2 trains are coming. One is red. We don't care about the red. We don't care what color it is.
But the resistance in the air from red. No.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So the sun is at the 15-degree angle. Yeah. Doesn't matter. That's just, it's getting in the way of you thinking because we can only concentrate on so many bits of information at a time.
Right.
So we want to remove the junk, pay attention to the important stuff.
I love that. And I love the fact that you're systematizing. And I see Susie's just commented, it says 0, inbox 0, goals.
Goals, make it happen. Make it happen. Yeah, I love that.
Awesome. So the systemization. So your sister, Sarah, had been trying for a long time to get the two of us together. And we will be doing a free workshop at When Words Collide, whenwordscollide.org in August. And because it's a virtual conference this year, again, people can attend from anywhere.
Yeah, whole world.
And then we are doing a business masterclass, full day workshop, author boot camp. And that's basically you bringing that business. Let's get rid of the junk. Let's focus on systematization. And then I'm coming more from understanding the business of writing and publishing. And Sarah was our protege, was the author that we've kind of put through the boot camp in trying to get her on track with her writing. So we're kind of exploring how that work has come together, but also creating a systemized. Can you talk a little bit more about what that day is going to entail?
Yeah, essentially, we will take authors or wannabe authors from that hope and that's maybe we'll call it lackluster drive.
Okay.
and it's probably a little bit lackluster because they don't necessarily know the next steps, or they have a vague idea of what the next steps, or they have one of that, oh, I should do this, or I think I'm going to do that.
Okay.
We're going to take all that. We're going to remove the junk, remove the head trash, and then we'll systematize it. So it's a very clear if then. So you knock out this step, you knock out this step, you knock out this step, with the end result being a published book. And with any luck, you start making money off that book.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I love that. I'm going to pop up a comment from Christy, who says, I love the idea of applying inbox zero to decisions. I get analysis paralysis. Yeah, I understand that. She says, thank you. I'll be looking for your book and can't wait to see you at When Words Collide. Thank you. Awesome. Cool.
I'm excited.
So, James, thank you so much for spending the time with me here today. We will close with a bit of a video ad that I created for this author boot camp. And there's the link I dropped up on the screen earlier, which is basically bit.ly/author bootcamp. And people can go check that out to see, and they can attend from anywhere in the world, right? Mm-hmm. So we can have up to how many people? 300, up to 300 people can attend. So you don't have to be in Calgary, which is where When Words Collide normally takes place. Where can people find out more about you online?
If they go to drawincustomers.com, they can see all kinds of stuff. We got podcasts up there. We got blogs up there, videos, all kinds of information about business.
Awesome.
Helping people be bold and having fun.
Yeah, helping people have a bold business.
Right?
Business entrepreneurs and the business of being an author, I think, which is also critical.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, James, thank you so much again for spending the time sharing your wisdom. And thank you guys for watching this live. We're going to now close with a bit of that video ad that I promised you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark.
So I didn't end with the ad there because it was a visual ad, but I'm going to talk about that after my reflection. I wanted to reflect on that importance of getting things done and inbox zero. So I've struggled with the clean desk and inbox zero for years. And it wasn't until I watched that video of James talking about inbox zero, which I'll share in the show notes over at starkreflections.ca, that I actually started to make progress. Now, the challenge is I have 130 odd thousand emails in my Gmail box. And obviously I'm never going to get to them all. And it's overwhelming to consider what I need to do to get to that point. But the way you break tasks down into manageable chunks is I've done the same sort of thing. I recognize I'm not going to get 100% to inbox zero immediately, but I did spend some time organizing some folders and starting to move those old files into folders, so I can appease that pack rat in me who's worried that I might need to look up an email from 2005 or whatever. But then I can approach my inbox every day and look at it and go, it's not overwhelming. I can then look at what's in the box, and hopefully it'll only be, typically with the emails that I get on a daily basis, 1 to 2 pages. I can spend an hour, go through it, and basically say, this I need to respond to. This I'm going to put into the, within the last 6 months, and then move those into greater than 6 months. Because if I need to find things and chunk them by time, I can divide them up. So I'm looking at dividing it into, here's my inbox, which basically I leave everything in there that I need to deal with. If I don't think I need to deal with it, I kind of move it into the last, and maybe I'll even divide it up into 7 days and 30 days. Maybe that's too complicated. But again, I'm taking the advice, I'm taking the wisdom from someone like James, and I love the idea of, walking into that clean kitchen where all the dishes are clean and I don't have to worry about cleaning them first. And that's kind of what it feels like when I look at my inbox, and it overwhelms me. And I want to remove that overwhelming feeling. So I'm going to play with different ideas. I'll share in future episodes how that's going with me. Maybe I have it like this is 7 days. I do love the new feature on Gmail that if you don't reply to something, usually 3 or 4 days later, it tags you and it reminds you. And that's really valuable to me for those things that I do miss. But I'm hoping to miss less because I don't want to miss those opportunities. I don't want to miss getting back to people who need things from me. So that's going to be a first step. And I look at it in a positive way that if I can just take those steps towards getting better, I'm actually getting somewhere with it. So that's kind of what I took from that. And obviously, the getting things done. And that's why for May, I've got NaNoWriMo, and I've been working at, just 600 words a day to get work on the next Canadian werewolf novel done. And again, it's those little chunks. I'm over 13,000 words, close to 14,000 words. But again, I'm not stressing out about it. And I'm slowly working my way to that. And that's just towards the idea that I recognize I've got to get it done. I've got to get it done early enough so I can get it to the editor, so I can also get it to my narrator, all of those things. But again, because I've chunked it into manageable chunks, 600 words a day, that's easy enough to do. With an hour that I've put aside first thing in the morning before I look at my email, that's been a great experience. So the ad that James and I were talking about, so here's the cool thing is James is a very strategic, intelligent, and creative business person. He has a very pragmatic, very systemized business planning approach. And so his sister, Sarah, who I'm friends with and I met through When Words Collide many, many years ago, she wanted to get the two of us together because she recognized that with his pragmatic and systemized, planning and business strategies and all the ways that he has checklists and procedures to follow, combine that with my pie in the sky, flighty sort of creative approach as a writer, but also with the knowledge and understanding that I have of the business of writing and publishing. That, if we put those two worlds together, we could probably have something pretty solid to help writers. And so what we're doing is at When Words Collide, which is a phenomenal conference in Calgary, Alberta, we're doing a free workshop. It's an hour-long virtual workshop, and you can register for When Words Collide. It's basically whenwordscollide.org. You can register for free. And you get access to this amongst dozens and dozens of other amazing panels and presentations, all in a virtual setting, so you can do it at the convenience of your own home. We're going to be doing that free hour-long session as part of When Words Collide, but because of demand from some people who wanted more depth that you can do in an hour, we're doing a full-day virtual workshop that would normally be about $250, and we're doing it for $50. I think it's limited to 300 people that can attend. And then what we're doing is for people, because there are different people who, some people will do the hour long for free and that's all they need. Other people will need more detail and more resources and things like that to work on. And even some of that collaborative discussion that we're going to be able to do in the full day workshop. But then there's going to be those people who really, really want more one-on-one hands-on. And that's why there's even going to be a second day for a very limited number of people, only 12 people in that session, where we can actually dig in and look at the stuff with them and kind of give them feedback and stuff like that. So what I love being able to offer different layers, different elements for people recognizing their different ways of learning. Just like I take that inbox that I talked about, and James has a methodology that's very basic, very cut and dry, works really, really well. I may adapt that into something that feels more natural for me, or something that manageable for me, that I can kind of chip away and work at it. And having lived like that for well over a decade, getting to that point within the matter of a month or two, so I can feel good about looking at my inbox. So there will be links in the show notes over at starkreflections.ca to When Words Collide, which is whenwordscollide.org, where you can check this out. That'll also include links, to the schedule when it gets posted, but we will be doing that 1 hour workshop for free as part of that. And then there's also that $50 full day workshop if you're so inclined. Well, that's it for this episode of the Stark Reflections podcast. Thanks for listening. I hope you found some value in that great discussion with James. And so, until the next episode, which is coming in just a few days, this is Mark Leslie Lefebvre wishing you great writing and good Stark Reflections.
Thank you for listening to the Stark Reflections podcast. You can find show notes for each episode at starkreflections.ca.
The music for this podcast, Laser Groove, was composed and produced by Kevin MacLeod. Check out more of Kevin's great music at incomptech.com.